Great Britain, a row 11. And the long-named Frenchmen put in an entrance. Jean-Baptiste Simonauer and Andrew Wong, row 12. Jack McCarthy and Mauricio van der Laan, row 13. Louis Ferdinand Simonauer and Enzo Cousineau are an all-French row 14. And the top 30 completed by those drivers that came home 1 and 2 in the last chance race. Jarno Opmeyer, the Dutchman, and Will Tregertha, the Brit. Casper Corhus of Estonia and Harrison Thomas of Wales on row 16. And the grid completed by Daniel Luco and Dickie van der Waal. Chris Hartley said, "Don't let the driver who finished 7th in the last chance race load up and go home. You never know." And sure enough, one of the drivers in front got a 10 seconds penalty, and so Dickie van der Waal does find himself racing in the junior pre-final.
That's right, it was Alexei Keskatala, the Finnish driver, who finished in the top 6 in that second chance heat, who got a 10-second penalty after the end of the race for unfair driving. So he got pushed down the order, and Dickie van der Waal, who finished 7th, got promoted and is racing up here. So he's got another chance to come and race now. In fact, he's got 2 more chances because he'll be in the final as well as this pre-final, won't he? So the junior karts heading under the circuit. 125cc Rotax Max engines, of course. Minimum weight with the driver on board is 147 kilograms, so the power to weight ratio is very high indeed. Incredible acceleration. Very, very low centre of gravity, of course, with these karts being just about 2 or 3 centimetres off the ground. Drivers almost sitting on the floor, which means they're incredibly quick through the corners with these slick tyres on as well. Immense amounts of grips for these karts. Unlike the seniors, they don't have front and rear brakes, just the rear brakes on them. Single speed race karts, and these are racing thoroughbreds, believe you me. Richard Verschoor then, from the Netherlands, had a disappointing year by his own admission last year. Showed flashes of speed, that's definitely the case, but was never quite able to get the results that he wanted to. But he's been propelled from a kind of midfield runner last year to the star of the weekend so far here, and that's why, with 2 wins out of the 3 races yesterday, he's on pole position ahead of Yuri Vips. Tommy Preining, who got the pole position for yesterday's heats when he got the fastest times in timed qualifying, he is going to start 3rd. And Darren Keane, who got his first ever European win yesterday. It's only his 2nd season. He was 9th in his rookie year in the Euro Challenge last year, and the American, the Irish heritage, is there in kart number 9 in 4th place. And of course the last time he raced was yesterday afternoon when he got that win, so he'll be full of confidence, Ken.
Well, justifiably so, because it wasn't a flash in the pan, was it? He hadn't looked like winning a race earlier on in the day, but it's certainly been at the front and holding his own. Darren Keane's start on the outside of row 2. A little bit of a challenge. He'll want Yuri Vips to get a good start in front of him, but Yuri Vips has been one of these lightning starters from the off-pole position, hasn't he? So, making their way round, it's a 9-lap pre-final for the juniors. And Richard Verschoor leaves it, and immediately Yuri Vips getting over to the inside. But Thomas Preining not letting him take away the 2nd place which Thomas has got. So Richard Verschoor, Thomas Preining, Yuri Vips as they go up the hill. Dave Wooder also well to the fore there. I think that's Dave Wooder in 4th place. There have been quite a few pieces coming together. 1 or 2 drivers and little bits of karts coming off, and one of the drivers going off the circuit, very nearly getting to a dangerous place for the guys coming up the hill, but fortunately was able to turn out of it. Unlucky for him, we'll try and identify. Richard Verschoor looks over his shoulder at Tommy Preining. Kart number 49, Dave Wooder in 3rd place becomes Dave Wooder in 2nd place. And Dave Wooder, who we have praised justifiably so, showing just the reason why Chris Hartley and myself are talking in terms of superlatives for that young Brit.
Yeah, good move that. A good early move as well into the hairpin from Dave Wooder to get up to 2nd place. He would have been higher on the grid had he not had a bit of trouble in the 3rd heat yesterday. It was a race winner yesterday. There's been a change just behind him as well, because Max Timmermans has gone 3rd and is now defending on the way into the 1st corner, hugging the inside line from the man he just overtook, Tommy Preining. And Tommy dead at 4th place then. Great scrap going on here for 3rd. third, fourth, fifth, sixth and seventh all absolutely together as they rise up now into the left-hander at turn 3, through the right-hander at turn 4, and they'll begin to climb up towards us. Look at that group of karts there. The bright orange helmet, though, in third place in the blue suit is number 5, Max Timmermans, 5th in the Euro Challenge last year. Just sort of quietly went through the heats yesterday, finishing in the top 6 in all of his races, but never really pushing at the front. But here he is when it matters, straight away up to third place. The leader is the pole sitter, Richard Verschoor from the Netherlands. Dave Woodard from Great Britain in second place. Max Timmermans there in third position. And fourth now, you've got, as I said, Tommy Preining now having to defend from Leonard Hugenboom in the number 50 kart. Darren Keane pushing on in 6th place as well. There's about to be a change for 5th position though, as Hugenboom goes through and moves ahead of Tommy Preining now. So Tommy Preining struggling a bit in this race. Darren Keane trying to follow through as well, and I think he has done that. Through they come, and yes, Preining lost another place to Keane, and he's going to lose another place, I think, into turn 1. Look at the inside, goes number 36, Alex Quinn, and Alex dives up the inside and makes the move stick as well. So Tommy Preining there, when one person came past him, Ken, it lost his momentum. He couldn't get back on the racing line. He lost 2 further places as a result of that. So disastrous start to the race for him.
Just illustrates, doesn't it, how competitive this is. As you say, that was not a succession of errors. It was one error which was compounded because he couldn't rectify it, or he couldn't really arrest the effect of it. And now Tommy Preining's got to show us what he can do from the lowest position he's been in a race thus far this weekend. He makes the first of the climbs back. Well, not quite. Attempts to do so. That was an attempt to go past Alex Quinn. Didn't quite work, but there's the move.
He loses it. He loses another
again.
One. So Yuri Vips this time. He gets it back out
all
the corner,
wrong
though.
In terms of... Well, let's stay on the positive.
Look at Darren Keane diving up the inside on the way into the hairpin, briefly to go fourth, but typical karting move really. Late on the brakes, gets the move, looks good, looks spectacular, but he has to brake so hard that he's sluggish out of the corner, and Leonard Hugenboom, number 50, was able to get back ahead of him. So it's Richard Verschoor, number 62, Dave Woodard, number 49 in second, third, number 5, Max Timmermans, fourth, Leonard Hugenboom just about, from Darren Keane, number 9 in fifth, number 36, Alex Quinn is sixth, Tommy Preining 7th, Yuri Vips in 8th, Finley Hutchinson, who was a race winner yesterday, is 9th, and up to 10th place now has come Luke Woodard.
Well, you mentioned about Max Timmermans just quietly going about his work yesterday. I rather like that turn of phrase, Chris. He was just quietly going about his work, and in a sense that's what he's doing now, but he's looking very impressive in third place, isn't he? Just dips his head a little bit, bigger of stature than some of the guys, including the ones in front of him. Dave Woodard trying to put on pressure onto the race leader, but not really getting quite close enough to be able to force an error from Richard Verschoor. But Dave Woodard dropping down a little bit later on the brakes, but Richard Verschoor very much equal to closing the door there and maintaining the pace. And I don't think Dave Woodard, close as he is going to be able to get another challenge in as we come round towards the half race distance.
Jack McCarthy's on a flyer, number 33 from 25th on the grid, has just gone up to 16th place. A good move into the turn 10 hairpin to dive ahead of was Jean-Baptiste, no, it was ahead of Mauricio van der Laan, I think. So he's starting to make good progress now. Let's see if he can continue that, as there's a bit of contact just outside the top 6, 2 cars rubbing wheels on the way up the hill. They both just about got away with it. Meanwhile, coming down the hill on the other side of the circuit and down into turn 9, the race leaders, Richard Verschoor and Dave Woodard. The Max Timmermans, I think, starting to reel them in now in third place as well. Darren Keane is up to 4th position. Alex Quinn in 5th place with the red and white suit and the orange helmet. And then a 3-way battle for 6th place with Tommy Preining and then Yuri Vips and then Finley Hutchinson at the back of that group as well now, looking to move forwards. Down they come then into the hairpin through one of the fastest sections of the course, braking hard and quickly accelerating then out of the turn. Richard Verschoor still hanging on to the lead. Looks comfortable for somebody that didn't lead very often in Europe last year. He looks pretty handy at the front, but Dave Woodard has been pulling off some very, very good overtaking manoeuvres this weekend. Lap times, a 66.9 for the leader, a 67.0 for Woodard, a 66.9s then for the next 3 drivers, Darren Keane, Alex Quinn and Leonard Hugenboom. So Ken, the top 6 are lapping almost identical lap times.
And it's a good race to watch, but I've tried to tear myself away and just have a look a little bit further back. You mentioned the 3-way battle, Yuri Vips, Thomas Preining and Finley Hutchinson covering 7th, 8th and 9th. Behind them, little surprised to see Luke Woodard outside the top 10 in 12th place, but Zach Fulk in a very up and down weekend, and the same thing can be said of Jack McCarthy, just outside the top 10 but gaining places on that previous lap, 13th and 14th respectively. But Richard Verschoor, Dave Wooder, certainly a comfortable 1 and 2, but Max Timmermans getting that little bit closer, although he was, when I last looked, as I look up from the screen, Max has dropped some pace from them and in fact is a little bit closer back to the 4th and 5th drivers of Darren Keane and Alex Quinn.
One of the drivers just outside on the Alonso chassis, just outside the top 6, has just dropped a few places. Yuri Vips, or it might be Yuri Vips, that dropped backwards there and lost quite a few places. Let's have a look when they come through. There were 3 of them together. No, he managed to hold his position. Behind him, Jack McCarthy up to 11th place now from, what was it, 25th on the grid. So great stuff from him. Verschoor still leads just about by 0.3 of a second from Dave Wooder. Max Timmermans he's not really catching them now. Darren Keane and Alex Quinn are tied together, working together to try and close the gap to Timmermans in 3rd place. Darren Keane would love to start 3rd on the grid rather than 4th, because that will give him the inside line for the final. So it's worth going for it if he thinks he can do it. Leonard Hoogenboom then coming through, leading the next group of karts in 6th place there, ahead of Yuri Vips, who's still 7th, Tommy Preining 8th, 9th Finley Hutchinson, and 10th Luke Willems.
Last time I spoke, I mentioned Luke Wooder. Some sort of disaster's befallen him, Chris, because he's disappeared out of the top 20 and can't just look around on immediately opposite us. There's a problem as well, isn't there?
Max Bird has retired.
Max Bird has gone out.
Yeah, it's on the run down towards turn 10. You'll see him just walking away from his kart. The number 28 kart has parked up on the inside there, and something wrong with the machinery, and he's walking away. So Max Bird's going to have to start the final near the back of the grid, I'm afraid, the British driver. Meanwhile, Dave Wooder looks closer than ever to Richard Verschoor, the race leader, climbing up now.
This race is not won and lost yet, is it?
No.
Even with just 1 3/4 laps to go, because Wooder piling on the pressure, as you say.
Yeah, and in a way you don't want to go too early, because then that gives the guy behind the chance to slipstream you and come past you. Equally, he's not going to risk too much, is he? But again, if you can be on that inside line, he has a look at the inside on the way into the hairpin and goes through. Nifty move that from Dave Wooder. Didn't really look like he was close enough to launch an attack, but he just popped out almost middle of the apex. He pulled the move off. So Wooder, with a great move into the turn 10 hairpin, goes quickest and goes fastest and goes first, but he runs wide then through the next turn, and Verschoor gets up the inside of him offline then into the slippy part of the circuit. Wooder takes 2 wheels on the grass, and then they pass him either side. Keane and Timmermans go either side of him because he lost all of his traction. He had to get off the line. Now Max Timmermans defending from Darren Keane, and Alex Quinn as they go into turn 1 and just about does that. But what happened there was that Verschoor, on the way out of the hairpin at turn 12, lunged up the inside into turn 13, the right-hander. I don't think there was any contact from what I could see from this distance, but the former race leader had to get out of the way, Dave Wooder, and he did that. He went off the line. It's still very slippery off the line. Got onto a bit of wet tarmac, drifted, understeered onto the mud, and had 2 wheels on the mud, and then just lost all his traction, and they just drove around him. So poor old Dave Wooder's down in 5th place now.
Conversely, the best thing that could have happened to Richard Verschoor was being overtaken by Dave Wooder, as Darren Keane looks to make a move, but that move was a little bit of a threat rather than in reality, wasn't it?
Actually, Wooder's got back to 4th because he's already got ahead of Quinn, and he's on the tail of Darren Keane now.
Well, if Darren Keane had tried to make the move that he was looking at, I don't think he would have executed it, and Dave Wooder would have gone past. But as it is, he goes back into 3rd place. But Darren Keane tightening on the... Well, no, not able to get it back.
That's a great move from Wooder. Because it's the part of the course where he slipped off the circuit on the previous lap. As a checkered flag comes out and the race win goes to Richard Verschoor, Max Timmermans, and Dave Wooder recovers to finish in 3rd place. Darren Keane 4th, Alex Quinn in 5th, and Yuri Vips in 6th place. But that was a great move because A, it was where he went off the circuit on the previous lap, so it needed a degree of bravery. And B, he just left it at the last possible millisecond to brake, went up the inside. He knew he was going to be too deep into the corner, but he also knew that he'd be then on the inside line for the next turn, the left-hander. And even though he was quite sluggish, there was nothing that Darren Keane could do to get back ahead of him. So, funnily enough, Ken, maybe that incident which pushed him back might, you could argue, be beneficial to him because yes, he was looking for the win, but there's this argument to say that 3rd place on the grid is better than 2nd, and he's ended up being on the inside for finishing third. So Richard Verschoor will be just in front of him on the grid. That'll be interesting, won't it?
I think that last move that Dave Wooder made was the decisive one, given what happened when he had the mistake or misfortune that he did. So all in all, no real heartache there. The guy who might just reflect on what he makes of it all is Max Timmermans. If we look at it on the positive side of things, he's going to be starting the final on the front row, and that's not a bad starting position. However, he might have felt that, as Chris Hartley has just suggested, that inside of the second row would have been a little bit better. Well, Chris is going to be dispatched, as he regularly does, to see if we can get some heart of the action chat in. But let's just have another look at that full result. The full result coming up on screen to those of you tuned into our GMMC TV. Your race winner from the Netherlands, Richard Verschoor, driving for Team TKP. In second place from Germany, Max Timmermans. And in third place from the United Kingdom, Dave Wooder. Those two drivers both driving for DHR Dan Holland Racing. It's Strawberry Racing's Darren Keane in fourth place from the United States of America, albeit now based in Great Britain. Alex Quinn is fifth on the chart, the first of the Coles Racing drivers. And in sixth place from Estonia, Jori Vips. Seventh place, Thomas Preining, who did have a little mid-race disaster there, or really it was early part of the race disaster. Going to have to be satisfied with a start on the inside of row 4 for the final, but don't nevertheless write him off. Leonard Hogenboom on the outside of row 4, courtesy of that 8th place position. Completing the top 10 was Finlay Hutchison and Jack McCarthy, the Brits. Let's join another Brit, Chris Hartley, down in the paddock.
Hello, thanks very much, Ken. Yeah, the juniors just going through the scrutineering process. While I'm near him, let's see if I have a quick word with Dave Wooder. Dave, a bit frustrating race that, wasn't it? But I suppose in the end you've ended up on the inside line for the final, so it's not too bad.
Yeah, it's not too bad. Yeah, we sort of bided our time a bit. Come together a little bit at the bottom, but like nothing to worry about. Still up there for the final, so that's good.
Just slipping when you went wide, wasn't it? You put a couple of wheels on the mud, just understeered, and then they sort of blitzed past you.
Yeah, just like when I got on the mud, there was no grip sort of thing.